Hello, and welcome to our webinar about cache blocks. In this video, I'll be teaching you what cache blocks are and why we use them, how you can use cache blocks in your own templates, and what tags are in relation to cache blocks and how you can set them. Cache blocks are a new feature of the ShopBooster 3. Their main purpose is to increase cache coverage. That means the amount of content cached at a time. By strategic use of cache blocks, you can reduce the amount of content being invalidated when a change happens in your webshop. As of the version 5.0.4.6 of the plentyShop LTS plugin, we have already pre-installed some cache blocks. Those are the cache blocks for the header, the footer, the item grid widget, or the category item twig file, in case you use the default categories, and the item list widget. Cache blocks are a way to wrap individual parts of a page into an independent block. These cache blocks are automatically reused on other pages. Cache blocks are invalidated and recached independently from the main page. Take the header, for example. A change in the header navigation would invalidate every page that includes it, which would normally be every page. With the navigation wrapped in a cache block, this would result in all pages remaining cached, save for the cache block itself. A request to any page containing this cache block would recache it and make its new content available for all other pages. So, how do they work on a technical level? Well, cache blocks are based on a technology called server-side includes, or for short, SSI. When rendering the twig markup of a page, content wrapped in a cache block, or rather in cache block twig tags, is extracted and saved as an independent cache block. Data accesses during the rendering of a cache block are tracked and tagged automatically. This allows for correct invalidation behavior. An SSI include statement is left behind where the cache block's content was previously located. When visiting a page in your plentyShop, the web server scans the markup and parses all SSI include statements, quickly assembling the complete page. So using cache blocks in your own template plugins is quite easy. We have extended the twig syntax with two new tags, cache block and cache slot. Cache blocks are created by wrapping your desired content with the cache block tags. But sometimes your desired cache block markup might contain content that changes with every page. This content can be separated out of the cache block using the cache slot tag. Content which is wrapped in a cache slot gets moved to the main document and gets included when the page loads. A prominent use of cache slots is in the header at the breadcrumbs. They change with every page and sit in the otherwise unchanging header markup. Wrapping the breadcrumbs in a cache slot allows for the headers to be cached correctly as a cache block. So before we move on, you can find our official documentation by following this shortened link or scanning this QR code. You should also be able to find a link in the description of this video. If there are issues regarding documentation, please feel free to reach out via the forum. So now we'll take a look at a practical example. In this video, I'll add the header cache block to an older version of the plentyShop LTS plugin. I will also illustrate the breadcrumbs issue in the header and show you how to add a cache slot to fix this. To add a cache block, we simply have to wrap the header markup with cache block tags. Now I'm using the Plenty Dev tool to quickly deploy my changes. Great, so now let's enter the plugin site preview to view our changes in the front end. This allows us to view debug comments for the cache block. Searching the source code for the term cache block quickly moves us to the comment at the start of the cache block. The comment contains a unique hash of the cache block. Seeing this hash on other pages means the cache block was successfully reused. Seeing another hash might mean that the template was different or that different tags are present in the cache block. We will learn more about tags in a moment. So, when checking out changes without the plugin site preview, we actually get cache blocks delivered from the cache. By switching between categories, as you see right now, we can see that the breadcrumbs are different. We are on the category Arbeitszimmer und Büro, but our breadcrumbs says Wohnzimmer. This happens because the last uncached site that was visited updates all related blocks in the cache. We can fix this by implementing a cache slot for the breadcrumbs. So let's skip ahead. So now we are in the default header twig, and we just have to wrap our breadcrumbs code with the cache slot tag. Remember to set a name for your cache slot. So now we have to build our changes, and we will skip ahead. So now that our changes have been deployed, we can quickly switch around the categories, and we will see that our breadcrumbs are now set correctly. So before we move on to another practical example, let's talk about tags. Tags are part of cache block's metadata, which tells us what data a cache block depends upon. Tags are needed so that the invalidation process can correctly identify the cached contents to invalidate. Common tags include layout containers, variation IDs, plugin configurations, etc. As mentioned before, you can use the plugin set preview to view and debug HTML comments in the source code. These also print out the cache block's tags. So in most cases, plentymarkets will automatically add tags when accessing related data. However, sometimes you will want to delay the tagging, for example, when the data is loaded in a context class. To only tag data when it is accessed in a twig template, you can use the function makeTaggable of the cache tag repository contract. This function adds a watcher to your data and automatically takes care of tagging. You can also let cache blocks inherit tags from an outer document. You just have to append the use decorator, as seen here, to your cache block tag, and then follow up with your desired cache tag. The first 2 points should take care of most of your needs. So, in this next practical example, we'll add a cache block to the item list widget. And we begin by moving the function call that is responsible for loading the item data down to where our cache block will be. This will also take care of the tagging of the cache block. Then we just have to wrap our markup with cache block tags. As you can see, we are using the Twig Builder helper class. This is needed because widgets are rendered in a 2-pass render process, and we want to run our cache block code in the second pass of this process. So after pushing our changes with the Plenty Dev tool, we can once again use the plugin set preview mode to check our cache block comments. And now we can see that our cache block is correctly tagged with all variation-related tags. For our last practical example, we are once again returning to the header. The category data used to render the navigation in the header is loaded in the global context. This means that our main document gets all the tags related to the category. Now we will add a watcher to the categories variable using the makeTaggable function of the cache tag repository. As you can see, we get an instance of the cache tag repository contract using the plugin app function. And now we can use the makeTaggable function to wrap the existing function call. So the makeTaggable function takes 2 required parameters and 1 optional parameter. The first parameter, as you can see, is simply the name of the variable that you are setting. So you can just copy the name of the variable as a string, and you don't have to do anything else. The second parameter is a callback function, which is responsible for fetching the data. In our case, we can just copy category service get navigation tree completely into our callback function. Remember to correctly fill out your use statement with the variables that are needed for the function call. So now we once again deploy our changes. And after deploying our changes, we can once again take a look using the plugin set preview. And there we can see, now we have our category tree, cache tag, and further sub-cache tags as part of the cache block. Now we've reached the end of this webinar. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to join us in our regular developer talks or reach out in the forums if you have any further questions. Have a nice day.